Hey guys, this is Denny.
And this is James from TeaDB, and so today we have episode number 85, getting nice and old.
Yeah.
And so today we are doing another blind tasting, similar to last episode, of a tea, a ripe pu'erh that was recommended to me when I did my ripe pu'erh tea of the month. And this one was done by a Taiwanese boutique label, Xi Zi Hao. And Hoda Asian is where we got the tea from, and they end up selling a lot of teas from this particular label. And so this is kind of like a Taiwanese boutique label, so the fermentation is supposedly lighter than normal, and the base material is supposedly much better than your average ripe pu'erh as well.
And this is a 2006?
2008.
2008. Okay.
Reading it now. Yeah, I think I read that to you wrong before. So
we're doing about 8.5 grams or so of tea, and this looks like 125.
It's like 145.
Okay,
yeah,
bigger than that.
Yeah.
And the smell on this was incredible. Just the actual cake itself, really rich. I said kind of plums and brandy. So that's kind of in the category of that sort of dark cherry, dark pid fruit kind of ripe pu'erh. Look at that, nice and beautiful, nice and clean too, which is a good sign. So I'm gonna start to try this because the nose on just the dry material itself was quite nice. Let me give it a smell.
Yeah. Yeah, very aromatic. It'd be fun to also brew this in a gaiwan at some point, just because I bet that would be even better for the aromatics.
Absolutely, and yeah, and that's a great point. What are the benefits of using a gaiwan versus Yixing in this kind of a case, James?
Well, the Yixing is nice because you're able to just heat it up more. The heat retention is better, and it's just going to continue to be hot in between steepings.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to lose a few degrees every time you pour into the gaiwan because the gaiwan will have cooled down faster. So you're going to get a more enhanced body from using Yixing, just kind of generally speaking.
Right.
And the gaiwan, though, is incredible for just smelling the tea, easier to look at the tea and evaluate the tea. So, I mean, using a gaiwan definitely has its merits.
Definitely. And one of the reasons why it's easier to see the tea is the white porcelain that you're looking against. Kind of like why people like to put a glass of wine through something and have some white in the background to see it too. So, you know what? I think we should just drink this right now.
Let's do it.
Yeah. We did one steeping,
color.
but it looks like it's nice and clear.
Yeah, nice dark ruby red color.
Yeah. Let's give it a shot.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers. Ooh. Wow. Already really viscous and thick. We are using a fairly high amount of leaf, so that could definitely be why. I'm getting that almost cough drop cherry flavor. You know what I mean? Like super sweet, intense cherry. For a ripe pu'erh, not very woody at all.
The body is the most significant thing that I'm feeling right now. So I'm curious to see, because I suspect this would normally be a rinse, so I suspect this tea will get, the body might even come out more in preceding steeps. Like, this is definitely not the steep where I would pick it to have the highest body.
No.
There's definitely some basic sweetness. There's even a touch of, just a small touch, and like this is of astringency in this tea, and I think that might be a product of the lighter fermentation. Like, maybe, I don't know. I might end up taking that back in this episode, but
I get little hints of kind of creamy vanilla as well in there. Wonderfully sweet. This kind of, I think, ventures outside of traditional ripe pu'erh in the sense that it's not as woody and earthy as a lot of ripe pu'erhs.
And that's probably because the fermentation was just not as heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The base leaves look small and uniform.
That aroma is
Delicious.
just really nice. Yeah.
This fits the delicious daily drinker ripe category for me immediately.
So we'll see if it's
sign.
something more.
It's a good sign. And we're gonna get that going.
So it's brewing up even darker than last time. I wonder if it's ever gonna reach that sort of pitch black, full viscosity, density, all eyes straight ahead sort of.
Can't see through it at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet it would if we let it soak for another.
I think so. In fact, I think next brew, especially if you heat up that water again, I bet it will be pitch black.
Look at that.
Yeah. So the one thing to keep in account with the way Denny is brewing, where he's basically giving flash brews, is you just see how slow this pours.
Yep.
Like this has a couple. It's not a single hole filter, meaning the pour is slower. So that's something to keep in account. Like even though he's steeping for 0 seconds, it's really more like 10 or 15.
Yeah, the first little droplets coming out aren't going to be as intense, but the last bit is going to be much more intense. So
it's kind of interesting to see the color evolve from going light to just dark.
Cheers. Ooh.
So fuller, sweeter, kind of that cherry vanilla sweetness that Denny talks about a lot. Really, really friendly. It's like in that sense. I usually associate those flavors with sort of like a lighter ripe pu'erh, but this is not necessarily light, especially not in body. It's got plenty of body.
Oh my god, yeah, it's super viscous, super thick. It reminds me of the viscosity of drinking something that has sugar added to it. And
it's an interesting
almost kind of syrupy and delicious, heavy on the cream and the vanilla parts now more so.
Yeah.
I think I actually would almost like to see a little bit of a longer finish on this. It has a nice kind of continual flavor in my mouth, but having there sort of be an evolution of complexity there, I think would be really cool. But nevertheless, this is absolutely delicious.
Yeah.
In terms of price, how much is this?
This was $6.50 an ounce. So as far as ripe pu'erh goes, it's not cheap. But I mean, like if you compare that versus like a Taiwanese oolong or something, then you're looking at less than the price of dongbing.
Yeah,
so.
Not bad at all. And I'm just gonna go for it and say this is delicious, and I would drink this every day if I could. I have another 2.0 that I constantly reference and brought on the show and the in between episode as well.
And how does this compare to that actually?
This has a little bit more of this isn't as woody, and I think that's the fermentation. And this has a little bit more of the vanilla going on. It's a little bit sweeter. So I think actually this would be a really great introduction to ripe pu'erh. Getting not only kind of that middle price range going on as well as really accessible flavors, but still right in the heart of ripe pu'erh.
Yep.
Although I do think that it's abnormally not woody and earthy. And I'm not sure if there's anything that's filling that up. I think it's just very fruity and sweet and creamy. And quite nice.
And I agree. I think that Xiaoguan tool that Denny is referring to, that is what you're referring to, right? I think that is definitely woodier, but more woody flavors are actually coming out of this now. So it's not woody at this point.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, it's still a ripe pu'erh.
Yeah, it's coming out. And definitely no fermentation funk on this. This is just straight up drinkable right now.
Yeah, I mean, this was... a little citrus nose in there somewhere. Yeah, I mean, this was delicious on the second... we drank the second rinse. Normally we would power right through that. It's actually not gotten too dark, which is great. So you could session this. I think if we probably heated the water up again, it might be a little bit intense. What about that bitterness that you mentioned earlier?
None anymore. Huh. Yeah, I wonder if that was just an illusion for me, or but there's definitely the light fermentation is definitely visible in this tea. Yeah,
really tasty. I'm enjoying this one a lot. Would you recommend this one, James?
Definitely. I think it's a really interesting lighter fermentation raw pu'erh, and also probably a pretty good example of just like better base material. It's different than most ripe pu'erhs, and ripe pu'erhs, for me at least, end up becoming pretty monotonous, so finding something that's special and stands out is good. I'm also getting more significant aftertaste and stuff like that, and I think that might be a product of the base material.
Really tasty. Body and viscosity, like James had said earlier, are just phenomenal. Continue to hold. I'd love to see this brewed out for a whole bunch of steepings to see how it holds up. My impression is that it would go quite nicely. I think that brewing it this way was really pleasant. And because this tea is so balanced, you can go a little bit heavy-handed with the amount of tea you use and still get a really, really tasty brew.
And that's a really good point. I'm glad you made that point, because some ripe pu'erhs, I tend to use lighter ratios for them, because if you brew low-quality ripe pu'erhs heavy, it can be real, like, funky.
Yeah, a little uncomfortable.
Yeah. So.
Well, cheers. Well, and James, if someone wanted to learn more about ripe pu'erhs, what would they do?
Yeah, so they should come hit that subscribe button. We've been releasing both weekly episodes and in-between episodes, so we've been reviewing a lot of ripe pu'erhs there as well. So please check us out there. And check us out at TeaDB.org, where we have lots of pu'erh and oolong-related article content as well. So please check us out.
And join our newsletter to sip alongside us. We are trying to get folks into that, and we'll figure out what to actually use it for once we do.
But sign up anyways.
Fill
out those forms where you don't know. It's going to be a surprise, guys. I don't know. Denny doesn't know.
We don't know. But we'd love to network and meet up with folks and share more tea experiences with you folks, too. So sign up and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, thanks for watching, guys.
Cheers.